Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Katelyn, and today we are doing another Monster Mash. So today's Monster Mash is actually kind of special. This is the first Patreon exclusive Monster Mash. So I won't be really advertising these past this month, but this is just a way for you guys to see what I'm rolling out over on my Patreon. I am featuring a monster every month with full lore and stats, so you can just drop it into your D&D game, and you'll get a full illustration of the creature to show your players. And if you can't do the $5 tier, if you just donate $1, you can actually vote towards which monster I'll create every month over on the Patreon. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the first one. So this one I wanted to do kind of like an old meme, I guess you could say. I don't know how old it is. I felt it was like early 2000s. Who knows? But what we're doing today is a rock lobster. Yes, the one from the song. Yes, the one from the Family Guy meme. Yes, 100% a rock lobster. So today I'm combining the attribute plus the creature together to make a new awesome creature. I'm adding in a couple of extra little bits to this to make it really interesting, and so then it's a really cool monster that you can face in D&D. So let's go ahead and jump in and get that started. So let's go ahead and get this monster started. So I am so glad to be back doing Monster Mashes. I have missed it, and I know I get comments pretty frequently saying, I miss Monster Mashes, when's the next one coming out? But when you do YouTube, you kind of forget like how long it's been, because I'm still producing videos like twice a week, and it just became such a blur that I honestly forgot that I hadn't done a Monster Mash for quite a while. I know the April Fool's one was kind of just a fun joke, but you know, it was still kind of a Monster Mash, but this one is kind of the first one back in quite a while. I think the last one was a few months, I think. But honestly, the Patreon monster thing is gonna keep me making Monster Mashes. I'm really excited to do quite a few and produce one every month and make some lore and stats and really make a cool creature. So let's go ahead and jump into my thought process on this lobster. So I literally wanted to make it a rock lobster. I wanted it to be a giant lobster made out of rocks that had some type of cool special abilities. I was chatting with the Twitch stream while I was making this, and I knew I wanted to have some type of like, I guess, energy that it would like exert through its claw, kind of like the pistol shrimp, how it can just hit like, basically make, I think it's a sonic wave out of its claw to kill its prey. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this, but I wanted it to be a different, like, more visible energy. So I was sitting here thinking about like maybe it could be kind of like a Godzilla ray, where it could be like charging up and then just like fires. And I honestly took a lot of inspiration from Godzilla when making like the spines on this thing. Like the back, I imagine it being all covered in rock, but then it has those big spines that like charge up in blue when it's charging up, and same with its tail. That's kind of what I was thinking, was those spines on the back and the ends of its tail would start glowing this bright blue as it was charging its claw strike. So with thinking about that more, I was like, I really want to do something like electricity based. I think that'd be really cool and something really awesome looking for this rock lobster. And at first I was a little hesitant, but the Twitch chat encouraged me and said, like, you know, there's electric eels. Why can't there be an electric lobster? And I'm like, very true. Let's make a cool electric lobster. And it's kind of like a fun little homage to Rock Lobster, like the rock and roll song Rock Lobster, because, you know, electricity, rock and roll amps. I don't know. I'm making a correlation there, so you guys are just going to have to accept it. So with that in mind, I wanted to do a cool lightning ball attack coming from its claw. So I really wanted to highlight that claw and make it like this really cool attack, and like it coming towards the viewer and really big and imposing. My thought process is the claws that can emit the lightning strikes are huge, because some, I think is it lobsters and crabs? I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me, but I think some lobsters and some crabs, one claw is larger than the other, and usually that's its stronger claw. I don't know for sure, but I feel that's true for crabs, for some of them. Like maybe not the king crab. Is it the king crab? One of them I know has a larger claw. And that was my thought process. Make a really big claw that would do the lightning strike, and then the other claw is a lot smaller. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I was laying this out. I was like, okay, I don't think it has to be the left. I don't think it has to be the right. I think it could switch back and forth depending on the lobster, or maybe even it's, if it's male or female, maybe it's on the left or the right. Who knows? I don't know. I'll have to think that out during my lore building. But either way, all the rock lobsters have these giant claws that can shoot a big electrical pulse. So I actually made a lot of fun lore for this one when I was writing. This one should be available on the Patreon. If not today, it will be available this week. So if you want to grab the lore and the stats, I would go ahead and jump on that over on my Patreon. But I'm gonna give you guys a little insight just to advertise a little bit more of this monster of the month. So without further ado, let me read you the lore that I have so far created for our lobster boy. Deep in the waters off the shores of Moa on the west coast of Ursa live the rock lobsters. Humans and rock lobsters tend to keep their distance throughout the year, but every summer they plague the shores for mating. Younglings overtake the undersides of docks and crawl onto park boats. They are more of a nuisance than a blessing since they are not a dietary option for the people. The sharp rock shell is hard to remove and the meat on the inside of the lobster is tough and tasteless. Only the desperate and starving dare to face the rock lobster's shock claw in attempt for a meal. Luckily, their shock claws are not fully developed for another year after birth. The younglings that speckle the shores do not pose a threat, but the adult lobsters should not be crossed. A full-powered shock claw is the deadliest weapon on a rock lobster. They are able to aim and fire it with stunning accuracy and can easily kill up to 10 men with one of its blasts. Rock lobsters also display an ability to change the range of their blast. When hunting, rock lobsters can spread their electric shock to hit multiple fish targets. But when male lobsters are fighting for a female, they can directly target their male opponent with a pinpoint blast that will not harm the onlooking mate. So that's a little bit of insight into what I'm thinking for this lore. It's still under development. There's going to be a little bit more to it on the Patreon, but this is just a little bit of an insight, a little bit of a tease for you guys. So along with the lore, I'm going to include the different stat blocks. A couple attacks that I'm thinking right now is I really want like a claw crush attack, probably some type of tail swipe attack since that tail would really hurt with all the big rock spines and just the size of this creature. And then probably two different types of blasts in terms of like the electric blast. I kind of want a cone blast. Basically it can emit the attack in a larger radius, but it probably does a little less damage. Or they can do the pinpoint attack, which probably would have like a longer range in terms of distance, or well, going off the lore, probably like a pinpoint attack that could hit someone up close, but it can only attack one target, but it has extra damage. So there's the blast that basically spreads out the damage amongst multiple targets, but overall still does a lot of damage, but not per target type of thing. Or you could have the pinpoint blast where you target one creature and attack it with the full force of the blast. I think that'd be really cool. My thought process is maybe the pinpoint blast can only be used like a once per day type of thing. So they usually try to save that, but the larger scale, like wider blast could be used multiple times. I'm also thinking about adding some type of charging mechanic so they can't just keep firing these things over and over. I'm thinking it's kind of like solar beam. You need a turn to charge it. I'm thinking that's something that the rock lobster would have to actively think about, and it's something like a DM would have to keep in mind. They'd have to remember that this lobster just can't keep firing its electric cannon over and over and over again. They would have to give it time to recharge or basically take a turn to not use electricity. I think it would be able to charge while it's doing other attacks. Like it's more of like an internal mechanism, like it's slowly building up this electric current again to fire again, but it can do other attacks. Like I could see the claw attack or the tail swipe that wouldn't really ruin the electric current going through it. So that's kind of my thought process. It would charge to be able to fire, and it could use other attacks. In the meantime, I could foresee a really cool encounter being multiples of these. Like you'd probably have to have pretty beefy adventurers. They don't have to be like top tier level, but this guy's not going to be easy either. I think he's going to be, my thought process is like challenge rating like 5 to 7. Probably more like a 5 or 6 actually, somewhere in that range. So he's not like a hard monster, but if you put a couple of them or like 3 of them against an adventurer, I think that'd be a lot harder. Like I said, these are kind of coastal monsters, so you could either have, my thoughts of a couple fun encounters would be like, for example, they're on a ship and overnight it gets boarded by a couple of these that are looking for food. I could see these easily crawling up on ships. They're pretty large creatures. They're not huge, but I foresee them being a little bit bigger than like a horse. Like height-wise, they'd be probably as tall as a horse, but longer, if that makes sense. So that would be, what is that, like a medium creature? So like a medium creature, I think horses are medium creatures. That's what I remember. Or are they large creatures? I'm already like blanking out. Hold on, let me look it up. Okay, actually they're classified as large beasts, even though they're not like huge large. They just control more space than how big they are. So like this would probably be actually like a medium to large beast. It's kind of in that in between. But they could probably easily scale the side of a boat, overtake it, start wrecking the cargo, finding food. They probably, like sailors, I could foresee maybe trying to get talismans or like wards to try to keep these away from different like druids and shamans and things. That would be kind of another fun dynamic for a player of, if they are gonna go on this boat into these waters with the rock lobster, do the sailors have like the certain type of herb they hate the smell of so they'll avoid the boat? Or do they have like a blessed talisman from like a druid to keep these away? That would be kind of fun too. But something like that, or these things will board your ship, try to eat all the food and just like wreck it and destroy it. Another one would be like the adventurers happened upon a city on the coast and these things are out and about potentially mating, just like other creatures you don't want to cross their path. Like moose during mating season are like super deadly and dangerous, so it's kind of the same thing. Like these things, you do not want to get by them while they're mating because they will wreck you, probably see you as some type of threat and want to protect the mates, so they'll attack you. And since they don't really come to shore outside of mating, that's kind of like the only time they would be there, and they would probably be super aggressive. So like an adventurer could maybe stumble upon like some of the little hatchlings and some of the parental lobsters are still around maybe, or they're just like just now starting the mating or something. It'd be really interesting. I think a lot of cool encounters could be made with this guy, either water-based combat, ship-based combat, beach-based combat, lots of cool opportunities with this monster. And this was really fun to design. If you guys want to hang out with me as I design monsters on Twitch, go check me out at twitch.tv/KMcCaigue. And if you guys want this monster again, check out the Patreon. This was super fun to make, and I'm really excited to make more monsters. All right, and there we have it. We are all done with this rock lobster, and he was a blast to make. I think this would be a really cool creature to fight against with all the attributes and like special abilities. This would be really fun to fight against in a campaign. Between the hard exterior of rocks and its ability to shoot basically like electricity, I think this would be a really awesome opponent to fight against. So if you guys would like to get the full lore and stats for this monster, go check out my Patreon. I'd really appreciate the support. Basically, if you guys help me on Patreon, I can make this my full-time job in the future and just start making monsters for you guys full-time. That's like a big dream of mine, and I'd really love to do YouTube and monster creation full-time. So again, thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking out this video. And if you aren't already, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. I make new videos every week. And if you like this video, leave a like down below and comment if you have any other meme monsters you can think of. I know I have a couple in mind, but I think it'd be really fun to redesign a couple of meme monsters. So thanks again, guys, so much, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody. And thank you to my supporting patrons. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me and my endeavors of making monsters. So if you guys would like to join the Sticker Club or get exclusive monsters, make sure to check out my Patreon. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys on Friday. Bye, everybody.